What's happening in America? How's it going? Happy Black History Month. It's 28 days of Black History Facts brought to you by Black Ass Tim. It's our third day of Black History Facts, and as you know, I'm going regional. Thank you. Please click the link, subscribe, like, all that good shit. I keep learning so much about Black history, and I'm using our current events and the history of those events to kind of help me out, to kind of guide me. Black history facts are a lot. They're happening every day. They're happening right now. Black history facts are happening right now. And I always get stuck into this hole, man. I start digging and I start learning, and then next thing you know, I'm on YouTube for like 2 hours. I'm supposed to be doing other shit. These facts would come out a lot faster if I didn't get so caught up in the history of America. And we are the history of America. A mentor of mine likes to say that he's proud of how far we've come, and he's sad to see how far we have to go. So, and that's a collective, you know, we are really winning. You know, we had a black president. That's got to count for something. I don't know. Today we're going to be talking about Mr. Ron DeSantis, not exclusively just because he is the reason that I chose Florida. He is literally, I mean, first he was after the babies. He didn't want the babies to know about that. And talking to the children about sexual orientation, I can see that being a softer point. But talking about how the world exists regardless, I think was a real fault on his. And now, instead of talking to the elementary schools and the public schools, now he's going to the state colleges and saying that they can't teach diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Why would you not want that? That should have nothing to do with race at all. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are things that should just exist in the world. Why wouldn't you want to teach that? How could that information hurt anybody? So, I got inspired by Mr. DeSantis, and that's never said. No one's ever said that. His last name is DeSantis. Where does he think? He's not from here. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I feel sorry for what the fuck is going on in Florida? What is going on out there? I'm pretty sure I have friends that are from Florida, but they don't tell me because they just don't want people to know. There's something in the water out there. Are they just drinking the sea water? Are they just drinking the ocean water? I don't know, man, but Governor DeSantis is he's putting up a pointless fight. I've never you can fight the future, but it's really hard to fight the past. So then I started looking into it. I started looking into these great moments in Black history. And Black history isn't always great. There aren't a bunch of, Harriet Tubman used to have to punch babies to sleep so people wouldn't get caught on the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman used to punch babies to sleep so they wouldn't get caught on the Underground Railroad. Shut that fucking baby up. It's not a beautiful picture, but freedom comes in a lot of different forms. And some may argue that we are still not free. This bad boy behind me says we are, but, I can look at a lot of things in my life, and my life ain't that fucking bad, that speak to systematic racism and difficulties in this country. We've come a long way. We still got a very, very long way to go. So I'm going to talk to you about the Ocoee 1920 massacre. Most think it was just a general massacre of another black town where they were unwanted. But in this situation, November 2nd, 1920, the Ocoee massacre started with voting rights. There's voting rights. There were two men out there. There was a Morris Norman and a July Perry. These two men were pretty much the civil rights leaders at that time, coming out of the 1800s. coming out of the 1800s, those late 1890s, going into the 19th century, so on and so forth. I'm sorry, 19th going into the 20th century. You have a lot of growth. You know, motherfuckers start getting free right around, 1870, 80 in that little back end area. And then gradually that freedom trickles over into communities and neighborhoods that were predominantly black, free black. So at the time, Jelai Perry was, if you wanted to get hired as a black man, he was the guy you went and talked to. So at the time, he was actually making sure, and this is at the time when Republicans were on our side. I don't know how it fucking changed. That's a whole nother episode of some other shit. So I don't even know how it changed. Let's not get into that. But yeah, the Republicans liked black people at one point. Who'd have thunk it? And they were really, really campaigning to get black people to vote. There was a poll tax. If you're not familiar with a poll tax, it is a tax so you can go vote, basically. There was a poll tax. There was literacy test. And that is a fucking shame because I know a bunch of motherfuckers who can't read voted for Trump. So that can't be the truth, So Trump can barely read, poor guy. So we go into Ocoee County, and these two men, very confident, very well-established black men, were guiding blacks to the guiding blacks to the polls, making sure they were getting out to vote, making sure the women were voting. At the time, right before things started really going badly, the Klan was marching up and down the streets in the neighborhoods of the black communities, telling them, hey, don't go vote. If you go vote, it's gonna be some problems. And they weren't fucking lying. So in that situation, things escalated. Jelai Perry and his family were basically hunted down. They came to the house. They were prepared. Jelai was prepared. He had his family was there. He had about 50 people at the house waiting for about 100 Klansmen. They defended themselves. Jelai was injured. Later found after a manhunt, several different cities converged from around the Ocoee area, and they found him wounded. They sent his wife and daughter to Tampa, and they kept him in Orlando, where he was tortured and drugged down the street, and then later on lynched. When people say that they don't want to vote, these are the stories you have to understand. And I can understand Mr. DeSantis, Governor DeSantis. I wouldn't want people to know about this either, because it's a devastating thing to the point where Ocoee, the Ocoee massacre was so prevalent in the minds of black people. If you're not familiar with the sundown states, you better get or sundown town. Sorry. Some of the states were sundown too, Mississippi. But you have these towns where you don't let the sun hit you in your black ass. Don't let it fall on your black ass. I believe Forsyth in Georgia was one of those towns as well, but notorious for that. And there were so many black people brutally murdered in this Ocoee massacre of 1920 that black people just didn't go there. There wasn't a real black resident from 1920 all the way up to 1981. So these are the things that Mr. DeSantis doesn't want you to talk about. And those people were moved out of that town. They owned about 300 to 400 acres of land out there that was divvied up, sold at a bargain, and actually advertised as Negro land for sale at a discount. These people clearly have never gotten their land back. This Ocoee area, I mean, I feel like that whole area is either owned by Disney or whoever the fuck stole this land. It's a shame, but it is part of our history. Big shout out to Jelai Perry and his family. Big shout out to Morris Norman and his family for dying and sacrificing for voting rights that we are still fighting for today. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are things that we are still fighting for today. So I'm sorry, Mr. DeSantis, This is it's a thing. It's called history. It happened. It happened in your state about a subject matter that you should be exclusively focused on. So, happy Black History Facts, y'all. Look it up. July Perry, Ocoee 1920 massacre. This was a good one. This was a good one. This had me locked down for a while, man. Had me locked down for a while. We really take for granted the rights that we have, and then we become individuals and kind of find our own way instead of looking for all the things that people fought for so we could be equal. That equity and that diversion and that inclusion all comes with those voting rights. So have a great day. Happy Black History Month. Click link, like, subscribe, follow, go to Instagram, all that shit. Come to my shows. Tune into Dis Race. Shameless plug. Oh my gosh, I'll be using these Black History Facts on my Black Trivia game show coming up February 26th at the Brownstone. It's back. We're gonna have buzzers. It's gonna be a whole thing, y'all. So y'all tune in. Stay with me. It's gonna be a great show. We'll see you soon.